Hey everyone, my name is Matt. This video is for anyone who's either looking to lease a vehicle or who has just leased a vehicle. There's a couple of tips throughout the video, so stay tuned and hopefully you learn something. If you're in a rush, the answer to the title, the three things are servicing, tires, and fuel. But keep watching because I'm going to break each one down into a little bit more detail to give you a couple of tips. Let's do it. So first of all, what is leasing? Here in the UK, it's called personal contract hire. What that means is it's essentially a long-term rental of a vehicle for a number of years instead of for a number of weeks or days. The way it works is you pay an initial deposit followed by subsequent monthly payments to bring you to the end of your term. Here in the UK, the lease terms are usually between 2 and 4 years. The initial payments are usually between 1 and 9 months worth of payments. For my example here, I'm in a 2019 Audi A4 Avant Black Edition. I paid 1 month down and I'm currently finishing off my payments of 23 payments to bring it to a total of 2 years. Now, I got a cracking deal on this car. I got it for just over £300 a month, which is ridiculous. And if you want a breakdown of that in a future video, just let me know. So what are the basic costs that you're gonna have to consider whenever you're budgeting for your lease every month? Obviously, you have the car payment across the term that you own the car. You have to have comprehensive car insurance in case of your car being written off, stolen, damaged in any way. Things that you won't have to pay for are road tax, that's covered by the finance company. You're not gonna have to pay for MOTs in the first 3 years. Your car is gonna come fully warrantied for a period of usually about 3 years, depends on the manufacturer, and that'll cover you against any kind of problems that go with the car that aren't due to negligence or unfair wear and tear. And also, the car will come brand new with fresh tires, fresh brakes, everything like that. So depending on how you drive, you might not even have to change those throughout the entire period of having the car, which is great. So what are some of the costs that you might not be thinking about at the moment that you will have to pay or think about throughout the lease period? Well, the first things first is tires. Now, like I've said before, depending on how hard you drive your car, the length of your term, how many miles you do a year, all that kind of stuff, you probably won't actually have to change your tires. What I'm thinking more about is whenever you get unlucky and you damage a tire. So I had an example where within the period of 2 months, my back right tire was irreparably punctured by something on the road. That is complete bad luck. And another thing I didn't consider when having to repair those was the fact that the tires from the dealer that the car got transported to after it was damaged were £180 each. This is more of an extraordinary example, but something to think about whenever you're leasing a car, especially if it's a higher end car or a performance car, something a bit heavier that uses thicker tires. Yeah, they can be quite expensive, to be honest. If this might be your first lease on a more expensive vehicle, maybe go to a website like blackcircles.com and have a check with a reg plate of a similar car, how much your tires are going to be. It'll give you an idea and just let you prepare just in case you damage them. Now, the bad thing about my one was because it was flat tires instead of replacing them, I had to just go to the closest place to get the tire fixed. And that's what happened to be my local Audi dealership twice. And that was £180 a tire, like I said, and that was not good. So that's definitely something to think about. Tires, unless you already know, are more expensive than you think. The second cost to consider is actually a really obvious one, and that is fuel. Now, unless you're driving an electric car, you know you're gonna have to put diesel or petrol or whatever in your vehicle. And that's not the thing I'm trying to warn you about. It's more about how much it uses and how that can impact your budget. If you're doing long miles or your car consumes a lot of fuel, or you're doing a lot of city driving instead of motorway driving, all these things are just something to add up and to consider. Now, the thing is, you don't have to be driving a Porsche for your car to consume a lot of fuel. If you drive a 4x4 that's a petrol, or maybe something a bit sportier, you might actually use more fuel than you think, and it's just a really good idea to factor that in. Take the car on the manufacturer's website, find out the rough MPG of your car. Obviously take that with a huge pinch of salt because, like I said, it depends on different driving conditions, but just use that to roughly figure out how much it'll cost you a month. It's just something to watch out for. It's super obvious, but if you're not thinking about it at the moment, just put in a quick thought about how much fuel your car will use. One thing to consider is the price of servicing. Now this car isn't yours, and therefore you have to keep it roadworthy and to a good condition, and that includes making sure that every year, or whatever the service interval is, that it's maintained properly. One thing to check is whether your finance agreement includes maintenance or not. Sometimes, for either part of the base price or for an additional payment every month, the lease company or the finance company can actually give you, unlimited tires, consumables, servicing, everything like that, and it's just peace of mind. For the non-luxury brands, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. You can get servicing done, you can get servicing packs and offers. However, if you're driving something a bit more luxury or one of the more expensive brands, maybe like a German brand like BMW, Mercedes, Audi, servicing can actually be quite expensive, especially if you've never owned one of these cars before. Now, I took one of the special offers where my car's on a 2-year lease, so according to my service intervals, I have to service it twice. And I got a package from Audi for about £450 that will cover all my servicing for those 2 years. Check your finance agreement to see if you have to use an authorized dealership. If you don't have to use an authorized dealership, the one you go to has to use official or genuine parts for your manufacturer. It's all something to consider. Overall, once you take all those 3 extra costs into account, your lease can go from, I got a £250 lease deal, to maybe £400 or £500 a month, depending on the brand and everything like that, depending on how bad your luck is with tires, like I had twice. If you found the video useful, give it a like, subscribe. There's more car content coming on the way. Hopefully it was useful. I'm new to leasing myself. I went from a 1.2 Volkswagen Polo from like 2006 to this brand new Audi just under 2 years ago, and I've learned some things along the way, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So if you're looking for a lease, if you've already just got a lease, a couple of these things might help you save a bit of money, might help you budget. Times are tough at the moment, so keep smart with your money, make sure you're not wasting it, always shop around, and yeah, thanks so much for watching. Take it easy.